Want some, get some. How about those friggin' Pirates?
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get to Omaha. I can promise you that.
Painted purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
All right, welcome into the Pirate Football Playback. Pirates have a tough loss last night as they lose to Appalachian State and 21-19. Let's go now to Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you, man?
What's going on, guys? Tough night for the Pirates. Blow a big lead like that, and I had every opportunity to win the game. Just did not get it done. We'll break it down, and we'll take your questions live here in chat. As we do so, Matt Semenza, former linebacker from the Steve Logan era, 94 through 97. How you doing, my friend?
Doing all right, man. I've definitely been better than I was last night. That's for sure. Still kind of trying to comprehend what happened yesterday and what went down when you jump out to a commanding 16-point lead and you know everything looks fantastic, and then from that point on, basically a total debacle, a complete breakdown, both within the, I believe, from the coaching staff right on down to the players, and it's a really tough loss because that's a game we should have had, guys. Looking forward to kind of breaking it all down tonight.
No doubt. And Bubba Rosenbaum, former Averett University quarterback and punter, and the greatest Pirate to never play at East Carolina. How are you doing 24 hours after the loss?
Yeah, I still feel like I got kicked in the gut. I take these losses too hard, almost like I was still playing. But that's one that certainly wanted. I obviously want to win any game, but that was one after the way App State had beaten us soundly the last two meetings in 21 and 23 that I wanted. It got off to an excellent start, 16-0. Less than 10 minutes in, you had the 65-yard touchdown pass to Winston Wright, a long field goal by Andrew Conrad of 48 yards, and then the pick six by Savone Revel. But unfortunately, from that point on, when we got outscored 21-3, had a couple trips into the red zone where you came up empty-handed with on one of those, and then another you had to settle for a field goal after a false start, and it was unfortunately, what I feared, and that was, a team that's used to winning, making more plays than a team that's trying to figure out how to be a great team, and you had App State running 83 plays compared to just our 58 and 39 minutes to 21. And we'll dive into some more of the how we got to where we were at the end of that game as the show goes on.
Yeah, you look back at it, and I really felt like that missed extra point momentum really swung. You wouldn't think a missed extra point would have that much, bearing on things, 17-0 or 16-0, but they went right down the field and put it in the end zone after that. And then we have a chance to stop them on the 2-point conversion. We do so, and then get called with the roughing the passer penalty, which was a little tic-tac in my opinion. But how much effect do you guys think those two plays had? It seemed like I said the momentum really swung with the missed extra point. And then I thought we could have really got it back had we stopped the 2-point conversion. We get them a second shot at getting it. Those two plays right there, had we made either one of them the extra point or, got the stop of the 2-point conversion, what kind of difference do you guys think that could have made in the game? Not just as on the score, obviously, but just in momentum.
I think it was, like you said, even though it was just 1 point, you go up 17-0. It's a 3-possession game. Then when App scored, they would have never gone for 2, so it'd be 17-7. Or like you said, if we don't have the ticky-tack roughing the passer call to allow them to go for 2 again, then and you had the play action pass that was wide open on the second try to enable them to get to 16-8 instead of 16-6. And then just like we started off the game with an excellent drive, you had an excellent drive there, the first possession of the third quarter after the defense forced a stop. You have a chance to go up at least 19-14. If you finish that drive, you go up 23-14. You come away empty-handed. And at that point, I really started to wonder, were we going to be able to make the plays necessary to win a close game against a good team?
No doubt, Matt. That first drive of the second half, or the first offensive drive of the second half, after the defense forces to stop, that he's talking about, where we go down, drive down the field, don't finish the drive, miss the field goal. At that point, at that point in the game, is that when it started to sink into you that this probably wasn't going to happen?
It was actually before that for me, Kyle. But just to kind of focus on that particular drive, you always want to win the first 5 minutes of the second half, whether it's basketball or football. The first 5 minutes are critical of the second half. And, you come out and you get a stop and you get the ball back, you move down the field, and then another mistake. And those are the type of things that just can't happen at this level. Now, for me, I had a really bad feeling after they scored their first touchdown. I could start to feel the momentum turn. Obviously, we get the penalty, and then that leads to the 2-point conversion. And now all of a sudden things start to change. But, I got to say, I thought there was a change in mentality with our play calling from the beginning of the game. And this is one of the things that really bothered me about last night. We come out ultra aggressive on that first possession of the game, ultra aggressive. We're throwing the ball. We're taking deep shots. We're getting the ball to maybe one of our best players, Winston Wright Jr., who is a dynamic player that we need to get the ball to more, by the way. So we come out, we have success early doing that, take a vertical shot, score a touchdown. And then guess what? We come out the very next series, inexplicably, and are determined to run the football. Why? I would love to know why that is. When you're doing something that works, why do you go away from it as a coach? Now you could tell me it's a numbers game. We had advantage in the box. Maybe they dropped into cover. It's all BS. To me, they're dictating at that point what you're doing offensively. Okay. Their defense is dictating your play calling. It made no sense to come out throwing the ball, have success, and then go away from it. So that irritated me from the start. Right now, we have a problem offensively, guys. This offense is sloppy. It's inconsistent. The tempo and the pace that we heard so much about, it doesn't look good. It's leading to mistakes. And I'm really questioning right now, the direction of this offense, if this is the right fit for us, because it doesn't look good.
I think the idea of it is the right fit. I just don't think we're executing it well. I don't think John David Baker did a particularly good job calling plays yesterday. You talk about going to running the ball, and of course, you want to establish the run, and there's nothing wrong with that. But why not mix it in? There seemed to be so many drives where we were so run heavy, and then other drives where we were pass heavy. They struggled against Clemson's vertical passing game. That's how Clemson exploited them. We looked good doing it early. So why go away from it? I was in a situation where they were scared of being too aggressive, maybe overcoaching the turnover game from Garcia. So you didn't want to go to it until later, and he did throw a pick later when we started throwing it downfield. But if that's the case, and I'm not sure that is the case, but if that's the case, then don't have him throwing the football. Take him out, put in Hauser. If you're not going to let him utilize his primary weapon, which is his arm strength, then why is he out there? And I don't know that that's the case, but you really have to question why we didn't go downfield more when, again, we had effective with it early, as you mentioned. And Clemson clearly, that's what they did to him all night.
Absolutely. And why not try to, mimic that same game plan. And, one thing I really appreciated about Lincoln Riley when he was here, when he was calling plays, there was no fear. He was going to line up. He was going to sling it around. He was going to run his offense. And you never got the sense really that there was fear in his play calling. I can't understand sometimes why, and you mentioned this, Kyle, and we talked about this last night. We'll come out one possession and we'll have 4 straight runs. And then the next possession will come out and we'll just be throwing the ball. Why not mix it together? Why not blend it? Why not, work play action off of those runs? Give the defense a little something more to think about. And, last night it just seemed like we were playing – at some point we're playing not to lose a game versus playing to win. And that mentality is always going to get you beat at the end of the day. And it did again last night. Bubba.
Yeah, we have a few folks chiming in here on YouTube and Facebook. Johnny Robertson brings up an excellent point. You have a first-year play caller in John David Baker, going against a veteran DC in Scott Sloan, 17th year as a defensive coordinator. In his second stint at App, had also been a defensive coordinator at Georgia Southern, as well as other stops. 30 plus years of coaching experience. He says, is it possible that he was just better prepared to make adjustments in our first year OC? And, kind of along those same lines, you have James Cutler chiming in. I believe he's from down in Georgia, but James thought Holton made a good point on the fifth quarter call-in show after the game on Pirate Radio. Once the scripted plays were done, it was on JDB. And we certainly did have an excellent start to the game and then an excellent start to the second half with our first possession. Those were 2 of our best possessions of the game.
And let me ask you guys about that. People talk about the scripted plays and the script, and once you go off script, the play calls are on John David Baker. Well, you obviously can't call that same sequence of plays, but why can't you go back to script? Bubba, you played quarterback. Talk about.
Well, you certainly can go back to those plays, but especially against a veteran DC like Scott Sloan, once they see what you ran, then they'll certainly make some adjustments and so forth, and obviously it's no secret App had given up a ton of big plays against Clemson, but they also gave up a big play or 2 against East Tennessee State in the opener. Gave up one on the third play from scrimmage yesterday, but then from that point on, if I'm not mistaken, I think the biggest play they gave up was the pass down the middle to Casey Kelly, where he made an excellent catch on I think that was the first drive of the second half, where we ended up missing the field goal.
Either that or the pass over the middle right before Garcia threw the pick.
Yes, correct. That one by Yannick Smith, the back shoulder throw, excellent catch, and a lot of promise out of that true freshman from Summerville, South Carolina. Matt, what do you have to say concerning going off script and just defensive adjustments and so forth?
Well, yeah, this whole scripting, the first 15 plays, that started with Bill Walsh back in the 80s, and his philosophy was you script the first 15. The reason why coaches do that is because you're looking for tendencies in the defense. It's things that you saw pregame on film, but you're also trying to see how they react to certain formations, certain motions, how you run specific plays. So you're looking for openings that you can attack at different points of the game. So that's one of the big reasons why coaches went to that. Now, I thought Holton, as usual, made a really good point. And it did seem like once we got away from that, we really struggled to find creative ways to move the football. And, I'll say this, guys, when things seem overcomplicated, simplify them. The way you do that in football is you get the ball to your best players.
Yep.
We are not doing that. I got to say, John Baker, get the ball to Winston Wright. 3 touches is not enough. Kelly, this kid is a playmaker. He can run. He can catch. 4 catches is not enough for Kelly. Those two guys can go. Those two guys can play. Get them the ball. It's not that hard. You mean to tell me we go through an entire game, and I'm a little fired up tonight, guys, but you mean to tell me we go through an entire game last night offensively, and Winston Wright touches the ball 3 times? That's why that is terrible right there. So we need to correct that. And I don't know what it's going to take to get our playmakers. What about Bonds? Is he hurt? I don't know. I'm assuming he's hurt and he can't play very much.
He's hurt, but then if he's hurt, don't play him at all.
Right. Get the
He
ball
is
to your
hurt.
playmakers.
No, I agree with you 100%. We got to get the ball in Winston Wright Jr.'s hands more. Got to get the ball in the tight end's hands more. Anthony Smith, he had plenty of touches, but even more to him. From a health standpoint, from the running back room, you got Bond is injured, played a little bit last night. You got Marlon Gunn, still not 100% from the car wreck. Rajay as healthy as he's ever been. We got Montgomery. We saw him on the field last night, but really didn't carry the ball. I guess he caught a screen pass. Yeah, you're right. You got to get the ball in playmakers' hands, and and then you look at somebody like Raji, who looked good running the ball, but we haven't utilized Rajay in the passing game very much this year, which is something I think he's really good at, is catching the ball out of the backfield. We're not being very creative. I mean, we can move the ball down the field at times, and the offense is better than it was last year, but it just ain't what we were hoping it was going to be. And I thought maybe there'd be some early struggles. I was a little surprised when Mike Houston put his trust and really his career in the hands of a guy that has not been a play caller, despite being co-OC at Ole Miss. Never called plays. It was down between him and Chad Morris. And Chad was a very experienced play caller. And I'm not saying John David Baker's a bad OC. And I'm not saying he's not going to get it going as the season goes. Don't get me wrong. But early in his tenure, I think he was a little bit last night, showed up a little bit. I think, as y'all mentioned, App State's defensive coordinator being very expensive, being very experienced, kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? He kind of exposed John David Baker a little bit. And so he's got some work to do on the play calling side of things. And the offense has to execute. Because even though the play calling wasn't perfect, there were so many opportunities we missed. We should have won the football game.
I want to bring this to Bubba for a second.
I don't know that I agree with that. We'll come. I don't know. But hold on, man. I didn't mean to step on you. I don't know if that's what you're about to talk about. Liberty's a much better football team than Appalachian. I'm not sure.